words, you couldn't, what you're saying is they could have the same far-reaching claim of executive privilege in an impeachment inquiry as they could in any other committee hearing, but the remedy is to vote in impeachment.
And then they're out of office, yes, sir.
In other words, holding the impeachment inquiry doesn't get around the executive privilege problem, but voting the impeachment and exactly removing him from office is the only thing that would.
That worked with Nixon. The authority comes from Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. It's the necessary and proper clause, and what it says is that Congress has authority to enact all laws necessary and proper for the execution of any power under the United States or any department or officer thereof.
Attorney General Mukasey has come before this committee and said blanketly, we refuse to honor the congressional subpoenas that you issue.
That by itself, in my judgment, is a clear impeachable offense. The Founding Fathers understood the most important function of Congress is the informing function, that self-government can't work unless the people know what their rulers are doing and why. And that can't happen if they don't appear before Congress. The President doesn't voluntarily disclose things. And simply by refusing even to appear, it's the equivalent of contempt of court, like refusing to obey a court order, which I think everyone would concede would be an impeachable offense. I think that's one of the things that that question points out, Congressman, is that I don't think you would need a very long period of time to decide whether what the President has done is an impeachable offense. It's open, it's notorious, you just vote. You just need to know what the Constitution means. The facts are on their face, contemptuous of this legislative body.
Mr. Fine, can you help me with juxtaposing the representations that were made, the players in the representation, and Article 1, Section 8 about Congress declaring war, but just focus there as to whether or not our duty to, if you will, protect the institution on behalf of the people of the United States, is there some merit there as we might look at those facts?
Yes. James Madison said that a people who mean to govern themselves must arm themselves with the power that knowledge and information gives, and that a popular government without popular information is a farce. And obviously, the Congress of the United States is making its deliberative choice to authorize war or not based upon information in the hands of the executive branch. And as I explained earlier, James Iredell, who was a founding father, subsequent member of the U.S. Supreme Court, made it very clear that it's his that it was be an impeachable high crime and misdemeanor to withhold information from Congress that, if they had known about, would have caused them to decide differently on a matter of war and peace. This was unambiguous. He wasn't a Democrat. He wasn't a Republican. He was just a founding father interpreting a document that he had helped fashion. Now, based upon the administration's own former occupants of office, including George Tenet and others who had served in the CIA that have not been denied by this administration, there was withheld from this Congress strong information that Congress had a right to evaluate on its own, not just based upon President Bush, that undercut the idea that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that the President held out as a justification for Congress to authorize war, and that al-Qaeda was in cahoots with Saddam Hussein. And this is information that comes out from Bush administration officials. And it seems quite clear that the declaring war function is corrupted if the President has complete control over the information flow and gives you part of the story but not all of it. Because the power to declare war means you get to make your own independent evaluation of what to believe or not, just not what the President wants you to hear.
And any of that could bear on, just if we were in an inquiry, could bear on treason to the extent of how you undermine the infrastructure of government, and could also lay the precedent on Iran. So we're forward-thinking when we do this kind of inquiry, are we not? Of
course. If you're, suppose that there's conflicting information about whether Iran in fact has a nuclear weapon, and there's just one snippet and says, oh, all the information that I'm giving you suggests there's a nuclear weapon and they're about ready to launch an attack against Jerusalem. There's volumes of information otherwise, but that's all suppressed. So you only hear part of this story. That clearly, in my judgment, is an impeachable offense under the standard of the Founding Fathers, not under the standard of anybody who came afterwards with partisan grind. James Iredell didn't